Welcome to the Love, Sex and Freedom podcast. This is where you're going to discover how to bring awakening into the body and into everyday life through powerful tantric teachings. Get ready to release, open, and step into your true power.
And a big part of safety is how present can you be and how much can you stay with whatever experience is happening in your life and whatever the sensations are in your body. So how can you be with sensation and experience? And this works both with challenging situations as well as it does with pleasure. And we'll be exploring both over the week. But I'd like you to just contemplate for a moment times in your life that bring stress, that bring fear, that bring heartache, where can bring the unknown. How do you respond to those? And just thinking of all the ways from big situations to small situations. What do you do with them? What do you do when you feel that knot in the stomach, your heart races a bit? Maybe you feel, deflated. Maybe you feel a bit frozen and your breath becomes shallow. And perhaps just looking at all the ways that you're not staying with yourself. And so closing down the eyes for a moment and checking it out. How do you avoid staying with your direct experience and sensation? And I dare say every person sitting in this room, one of those things is going to be to pick up the phone. And the mind will find 1,001 reasons why you really, really, really got to check your phone. Or you really, really got to go do that thing. Or you really, really got to put on that movie. Or you really got to go eat that food. Or light up that joint. Or have that glass of wine. And there's nothing wrong with those things. Right? Tantra says that everything is divine. It's the intention behind why we're doing what we're doing. So the first part is bringing mindfulness and awareness and observing. This is what I do when something comes up. This is my go-to avoidance response. Now, every time you do that, and every time you avoid what's going on inside, that churning, you're abandoning yourself. And so that little girl and little boy, that inner child that sits within us, that has always wanted a present father and an unconditionally loving and safe mother, and anywhere we haven't had that in our childhood, which unless you had a perfect, wonderful childhood with very two conscious parents, there's going to be a level of unsafety in the body and in the nervous system. And so the question is, as adults, how are you treating yourself? How are you creating safety for yourself in those moments where difficulty arises? And if you're going into distraction, avoidance, if you're just suppressing altogether and going, nope, I'm going to just not look at that one. If you're going into addiction, then how is your being, how is your body meant to feel safe if you're not showing up for yourself? And so the tools that we're going to be teaching you today, especially and throughout the week, is what to do when your shit comes up. Why the fuck isn't this taught in schools? And essentially what we're doing is we're actually going back to the childlike innocence and naturalness of when we were children. And just think of children. If they're angry, they're like, oh, I hate you. And if they're sad, they'll just burst into tears and start crying, right? And their bodies might shake if they're scared. And at any stage in any of your lives where a parent said, don't cry, it's okay. You don't have to be scared. Don't be angry. What do we learn? It's not okay to feel our emotions when there's energy and emotion inside of us. By well-meaning parents who got told the same thing from their parents. So we need to reparent ourselves. And what that looks like is when you feel that tension, that knot, that contraction in the body, that you pause. You pause. And then you take a breath. And just by doing that, you are pattern interrupting. Because most of us will just find the next thing to go on to. And then you create the space to check it out. Just like you would if a friend came to you and said, oh, fuck, I'm so sad, or I'm really struggling right now. You're not going to go, oh, let's go to the movie cinema. Do you want to just go have a beer? I mean, maybe some people do that. Or at some stage in our lives, we've done that. But you're going to go, oh, hey, what's wrong? Tell me how you're feeling. And you're going to hold presence, loving presence for that person. And you're going to let them empty out and say what they're feeling and have a little cry, right? And let them feel what's there. And when we can do that for ourselves, then one, we're retraining ourselves to say it's safe to stay in the body when we're not feeling great. It's safe to stay in the body when we're feeling tension, when we're feeling contraction. And it's safe to feel that contraction. And I promise you 2 things. One is every time you go into that strong tension point or contraction or emotionality in the body, there is a death process that is happening. Because the ego is going, fuck no, don't feel that, because that means that you're going to be releasing the past and liberating yourself into your natural state, which is bliss. So know that it's going to feel uncomfortable. But on the other side of feeling that, all of that energy, it don't go anywhere. You don't sleep it off and then it's suddenly gone. It stays stored and stuck in the nervous system and in the body. And that dis-ease in the body, if it stays there long enough, turns into disease. So when you're releasing this through breath, sound, and movement, and you're just letting yourself cry, you're letting yourself be fucking angry, you're letting yourself be scared shitless, you're doing what children do, and you're doing what animals do in nature. So they just shake it off, right? Once I've had an altercation. And that energy is released from the nervous system. And what is left is spaciousness. So what do we do with that spaciousness? That's when we rewire our beliefs that are at the foundation of these tension points. That's when we call in the energies, the mental, emotional, physical, spiritual space that we're wanting to show up with more as. But if we go straight to the positive affirmations, I am whole, I am complete, I am empowered, my heart is open, I express myself clearly and vulnerably, but our nervous system is holding these old energies, then they're not going to stick. Because just by law of reflection and energy vibration, our nervous system is radiating a certain vibrational frequency. So we will attract the equal energy to that, like a transmitter and receiver, so that we have the opportunity to release that from our being. And you may have experienced in your life, like, why does this keep happening to me? Why do I keep attracting that same relationship? Why do I keep attracting the same work dynamic? Why does this keep happening to me? You can change those patterns when those situations come up, you're brave enough to pause, breathe, and feel what there is to be felt so that you can release it from the body. And from there, you can call in and bring energies into your being that you're wanting to move into and integrate them at a cellular level.
Receive a breath. I'm going to go into some embodied experiences of that. And those of you that are more, speak more the mind of understanding what happens on a cellular level, as Tara is beautifully sharing, I have here magnets. So if I take positive charge and a positive charge and put it together, what happens? But I heard once in a movie called The Secret, and I'm supposed to just think positively, Aaron. Think positive, think positive, think positive, 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 positive. But if I put positive and positive together, they repel. So what the fuck? Right? So what we're talking about on a cellular level is that to change the frequency of how you relate with the world, you have to change the way in which you related to the world. Now, what that means is if there are things in your past, often having to do with money, sex, and power at your base, and there are frustrations or times where somebody else's yes became more important than your no, and in those moments, you didn't express your no, fuck off, no, don't put your hands off me. All of that, then that's still sitting at your base, literally as a half spin of quantum energy. It's unequilibrated. And what does an unequilibrated charge want to create in its life? It wants to find its opposite. But to find its opposite, that's probably looking like hitting your head against the same brick wall 100 times and expecting a different result. Because you keep attracting the same situations over and over and over again. And your mind is like, but I know all these things. I've read all the books. I understand all the concepts. But your body's like, yeah, but you haven't fucking felt me yet. This is the work we're doing here. We're taking the understandings of equanimity, ultimately what they are, and not just positive affirmations to rule the world, but actually embodied equanimous recognitions of the world in which we live in, because in your body, you have cells. And cells are positive charges and negative charges annihilating each other to create matter, to create bone, structure, flow. So inside this body, if there are cells that haven't equilibrated, neutralized the things that they went through, then that's why you still attract the same things over and over and over again, expecting a different result. Because you haven't actually faced the thing that's arising in front of you. And you know the best way to recognize what's arising in front of you? Looking at what's in front of you. Whoa. But I know what a lot of you are going to do this week is then when things are coming up in front of you, you're going to find every reason in the book to not feel what's coming out in front of you, because your mind, it doesn't want to do that because it's gotten very used to not feeling. So this is where the rewiring of your entire nervous system exists, in a capacity to actually say, can I be with the sensation and experience that's happening present time in front of me? And then by doing that, what the world gives you a lot of is the situations that are reminding you of all the shit you haven't dealt with in your past. How many recognize that? Oh, there's that thing again. Keeps making me feel like I'm 5 years old again. Oh, maybe there's something in that young child, that young, maybe teenager, whatever it may be, that didn't have a chance to express what he needed to say, express what she wanted to say, and to feel the frustration of, don't touch me. I don't want this, Dad. No, Mom, please. All of that. And that's literally energy that's stuck inside your system. And when you neutralize that, when you express it, when you let it move and vibrate through your body, that's truly when you come to an ecstatic state of the transpersonal soul that is actually guiding your whole journey. But you cannot get to that place until you master the human experience. And there's a lot of spiritual teachers that aren't going to tell you that. This is why I love Tantra. Because it's saying divinity is inside of everything. Of course, it's connecting me to God that's everywhere and omnipotent and inside of every moment of life. But if I'm just going to transcend the human experience because I think it's better to be in the cosmos than inside my body, because it's scary and afraid, and oh my God, I had to disassociate so many times as a young child, I didn't know what to do, so I just left my body, and I feel like it's actually safer outside of my body. How many of you can relate to that? Yeah, and it takes courage, and that same courage that's brought you into this room is the courage that's going to guide you through this week and ultimately through your whole life. To feel what you need to feel, express what you need to express, and dive into the aliveness that's waiting there on the inside for you. This makes sense?
And if you love and cherish relationship and are desiring a beautiful, harmonious relationship with someone, then your ability to do this inner work is imperative. Because otherwise you have that figure, I think it's a Burning Man sculpture. There's two children sitting back to back like this. No, there's two adults sitting back to back like this. And then there's a superimposed inner child, and they're both just like facing each other, looking forward. We can mirror. And that's what's going on, because our adult selves haven't resolved and aren't loving our inner child. So you want harmonious relationships. Well, guess what? You need to create that within. And the techniques of being able to do and hold space for all parts of yourself when they come up are the quickest path to transformation.
Mm-hmm.
So if you're sick of certain parts of yourself or sick of certain patterns that are coming up in your life, feel your pain. It is the only way to get to where you want to be. If this is where you are and this is where you want to be, then you need to move through the process of uncomfortability, because what is unfamiliar to you is going to be uncomfortable, right? Until through practice, feeling your pain becomes less and less uncomfortable, because it becomes a little bit exciting, actually, of like, oh, this is the big one. Fuck. All right, let's check this out. There's something here. Great. Because you've done it enough times that you know it is worth it. It is so worth it. And why feeling your pain is so deep in the healing metamorphosis journey is because whatever the trigger is in your life, and you know those points where you get triggered by someone and you either want to fight or you want to run, right? They're the points to go pause, breathe, sit and feel. And I just want to add one more key thing in there: validate. Because you're going to judge the shit out of yourself, whatever you're feeling. I still get caught on this one. I'm like, God, no wonder that took me so long to feel, because I was still judging it. So love it, have compassion, just like you would for a friend or a child. If they came, you wouldn't be like, damn, you're fucked up. What's wrong with you? Right? You'd be like, fair enough. It's always fair enough, whatever you're feeling. Even if rationally you're like, this is so not right that I'm feeling this way. That's a judgment. You're feeling that way for a reason. So validate that and then feel that. And whatever the trigger is in your immediate environment, that usually has maybe anywhere from 10 to, let's say, 40% to do with what you're feeling. That's the conscious charge. What breath, sound, and movement does, and the capacity to keep being with yourself, holding space, is when that safety is built with yourself, you start to be able to drop beneath the surface wound, beneath the surface charge into the unconscious. And that's where deep change happens. And that's where you can start going, what does this remind me of? Where did this start? And you'll get flashes. You'll end up back at childhood, back with mum, back with dad, back with siblings, back with past traumatic experiences, soft trauma or hard trauma. And guess what? You then get to feel and vibrate through your body, which you didn't feel safe or have the emotional capacity to feel back then. And that's what we're doing. Like it or not, and it's not a choice. Every human being is on this soul evolution path. So if you're conscious that that's what's happening, then you can consciously choose to go with that and use these amazing techniques to actually go back, release the past from your body, and then reparent yourself and give yourself what you needed back then that you didn't receive.
Thanks for listening to the Love, Sex and Freedom podcast. For more great free resources, in-person and online workshops, and our retreats, find us on Instagram and Facebook at Embodied Awakening Academy or visit embodiedawakeningacademy.com.